Kazuya is an absurd character in Smash Ultimate. Like, I don't even know where to begin with this guy. Firstly, his damage output is insane. He also has his notorious touch of death combos, which can kill you starting from 0%, and if those combos don't kill you, his electric wind godfist will fill in the gaps, killing you from any percent he desires. He's the rushdown archetype taken to the extreme. He has an input throw which completely invalidates some characters, intangibility on most of his moves, and even on his crouch dash for some reason. He has built-in tough guy, so weak multi-hits aren't a problem for him. He also has a comeback mechanic in the form of Rage Drive, a move that kills extremely early and does almost as much damage as a final smash. And to top it all off, he's incredibly heavy, letting him live up to percents that most characters would never live at.
Because of my weight.
Since Kazuya has all these things going for him, surely he regularly dominates majors, showing up in nearly every top 8, right? Well, taking a look at every major Kazuya's won, that's not necessarily the case. And looking at the most recent majors, Kazuya rarely makes an appearance in top 8. But why? How come this absolute powerhouse of a character isn't dominating everything? What's holding him back? Why isn't Kazuya king? Firstly, let's take a look at what's holding Kazuya back physically. I briefly covered his incredible strength earlier, but how well does he utilize it? Well, it turns out that while Kazuya does crazy damage whenever he gets a hit, actually getting that hit can be extremely difficult, especially at the top level. This is in part because Kazuya doesn't really have any insane burst options, and his mediocre speed ensures he won't go very far in his attempts. Sure, he's got Electric, arguably one of his only approach options, but it's no Mithra dash attack or Terry crack shoot. He also doesn't have great range. I mean, he has a projectile, but with how slow and reactable it is, it won't really be doing any zoning in neutral. Another complication with Kazuya's movement is his jump. Kazuya has the unique and undesirable trait of having a frame 7 jump squat. This means a whole 7 frames are added to any of his aerials if he wishes to do them from the ground, making his aerials out of shield pretty slow. On top of that, his full hop is very short, unable to reach platforms. Meanwhile, his double jump sends him far past them. This makes maneuvering around platforms a pain, since there's no comfortable and quick way to land on them, and when other players abuse this, it can make landing a meaningful hit on them a difficult task. Kazuya's final physical drawback is his recovery. While it's generally a pretty great recovery, it can be inconsistent due to its exploitability. With air acceleration on par with Little Mac and Ganondorf, he tends to make his way back to stage pretty slowly. And unless he ends up pretty close to ledge on his way back, his recovery tends to be quite vertical and telegraphed, which can lead to devastating punishes. Also, although he can act out of his up B, it has a significant amount of lag, which if caught, can lead to brutal edge guards. Many of the aspects mentioned result in Kazuya's notoriously poor disadvantage state. Since his double jump has a lot of startup, simply jumping at a disadvantage as so many characters do isn't quite as safe of an option. He also doesn't have many moves to make landing safer, in the same way that characters like Cloud and Snake have. Nor does he have quick escape options like Foresight or Bats Within. He has a good stall and fall down air, but landing with that can be a gamble. So most of the time Kazuya either has to take the juggle damage or hope an air dodge saves him, which can allow his opponent to extend their advantage state for even longer. Now we'll consider some of Kazuya's strategic flaws that prevent him from steamrolling every opponent. To start, let's take a look at other dominant characters' game plans to see what sets them apart from the rest and lands them on top. Samus has Charge Shot, a tool that lets her determine the entire structure of the match. Charge Shot allows Samus to break the match down into a much simpler game, forcing the opponent to guess her next move, and creating many 50-50 scenarios of either releasing a deadly projectile or attempting to quickly catch the opponent with an anti-air. Sonic Spin Dash and Spin Charge let him set the pace in a similar way. Regarded as some of the best neutral options in Ultimate, they allow Sonic to zip back and forth across the stage, constantly keeping their opponent on edge, and setting the tempo of the match. Does it miss or hit shield? No problem. Sonic is already long gone and ready to do it again. Steve is Steve. He forces his opponent to approach in one of two ways, either over his blocks or through them. While considering the former option is perilous, the opponent is forced to play a block-breaking minigame to reach Steve, all while he gathers materials to help win the match. All these characters have tools that let them determine the pace of the match, forcing the opponent to play their game, while minimizing the amount of risk they have to take. So what does Kazuya's game plan look like? Oh, I hope I hit them. Right, so Kazuya's plan is to hit his opponent. Okay, what does this force his opponent to do? I am not going near that guy. Right. Most matches against Kazuya consist of the opponent trying to keep physical altercations to a minimum, playing far outside his burst range while Kazuya prays that he gets an opening. Given that Kazuya infrequently interacts with his opponent, it's all the more important that he capitalizes off his crazy combo game each time he gets the chance, but some things can get in the way. For most characters, platforms enhance their combos. For Kazuya, it can kill them. When platforms get involved, Kazuya's lethal touch of death combos become a guessing game, with the opponent being given far more control over where they go. This can turn his most dreaded combos into simple strings, if anything at all, while his opponent gets to utilize the platforms to their full potential. And although he has the FERP deck, a tool that lets him quickly land on platforms to extend his combos, it's not as sound of a solution as it may seem.
See, like, it doesn't fully cover every single timing, so in a sense it's sort of a read.
Since openings are sparse, if Kazuya fumbles his opportunity, it can be ages until he finally lands a hit again, which usually leaves his opponent hanging at a certain percent for a long time. All the while, chip damage pushes Kazuya closer and closer to the end of his stock. Another complication with Kazuya at the top level is representation. This aspect doesn't really fit into strategy, nor does it outline a weakness of Kazuya as a character, but I feel that it's important to mention when diving into why Kazuya isn't seen too frequently in major top 8s. Currently, Kazuya doesn't really have a star player pushing his limits in the same way that Cloud has Spargo and Snake has Hurt. Kazuya used to have Riddles, who took him to great heights, winning Collision 2023 and the Big House 10, being the only Kazuya to win multiple majors. But with his focus shifting to Street Fighter, there's been a scramble for the best Kazuya. Many contenders have emerged, with the likes of Skeleton, Wilds, Rocky, and T all rising to the occasion, with the last two both taking a major win. However, to win their respective tourneys, Rocky and T both had to switch to another character, with Rocky switching over to Steve and T swapping to Pac-Man, which contrasts with Riddles' run at the Big House 10, where he played Kazuya from top 64 onwards. Without a dominant player piloting Kazuya, he just doesn't crack top 8s as often. Finally, I'd like to take a look at two top-level games in which the opponent had a clear understanding of Kazuya's weaknesses, utilizing them to win the match. To start, we'll observe the final match of CEO 2024 between Cola and Riddles. Here, Cola expertly utilizes Roy's slightly longer reach to poke at Riddles and stay outside of Kazuya's burst range, making him work hard to get any hits, and utilizing the platforms to soften the blow of any openings Riddles might get. Unfortunately, since this is a losing matchup for Roy, whenever there's nothing standing in Kazuya's way, he's able to quickly crush Roy's stock. However, this opening here would be the last significant damage Riddles would get for the remainder of his second stock. This is because Cola begins to utilize Kazuya's poor disadvantage. Recognizing Kazuya's limited landing options, he quickly racks up damage, trapping Riddles in perilous juggles until he eventually loses his stock. On his final stock, Riddles gets a crucial opening with Electric, his best move to confirm kills. But as we discussed, platforms are not Kazuya's friend, and that rings true as the platform abruptly interrupts his string, halting any additional damage. This gives Cola the chance to put Riddles into disadvantage once more, as he begins to apply pressure and build percent. He bashes Riddles for choosing the wrong landing options and eventually takes the set with a hard read. In this matchup, Cola primarily utilized Kazuya's disadvantage state to take the win, as well as using Roy's range. But what if someone were to utilize their superior range on top of fully taking advantage of platforms? Well, that exact scenario played out at Sumabato 52 when Akola fought Rocky. In this game, Akola took Kazuya counterplay to the extreme, rarely leaving the platform unless he found a guaranteed opening. This left Rocky in a peculiar state, since as we discussed, Kazuya doesn't have a lot of easy ways to maneuver around platforms. This forced Rocky to slowly chip away at Akola with stray hits, all the while Akola racked up percent with Aegis's superior range. And if Rocky ever did get an opening, it would be sure to happen near the platform, which severs Kazuya's combo game greatly. Akola was also sure to take advantage of Kazuya's recovery and poor landing options, letting him build up damage and extend his lead. Overall, Akola made this insane beast of a character look like a puny joke, by ensuring Kazuya would never get his desired openings and limiting close quarter interactions. In both these cases, top players didn't allow Kazuya to exert his full power by abusing his weaknesses and putting a wrench in his game plan. So to conclude, the reason Kazuya isn't dominating at the peak of competitive Smash could be because he's fundamentally flawed on a strategic and physical level. His speed, maneuverability, and range make it harder to find openings, and his devastating power encourages the opponent to limit interaction even further. This essentially means his incredible strength is being funneled into just a few critical moments throughout the match, where execution can determine the entire trajectory of the game. Despite being gifted with immense strength, Kazuya struggles to utilize it against evasive and skilled players. No matter how powerful you are, if you can't hit your opponent, it's practically all for nothing. I believe these weaknesses are what hold Kazuya back at the highest level, stopping him from reaching top 8 at major tournaments. Meanwhile, other characters who may be more well-rounded or set the pace of the match show up much more regularly. And that is my reasoning as to why Kazuya isn't king. However, this isn't to say that Kazuya is a bad character, far from it. The purpose of this video is not to downplay Kazuya or say he's overrated, rather, an attempt to answer why such a powerful character isn't getting the results it feels like he should. And while some points may seem like minor nitpicks, each flaw, no matter the size, adds together to pull Kazuya away from his ideal state. Thanks for watching. I really pushed my editing skills for this one, so any feedback in the comments would be greatly appreciated. And of course, if you enjoyed, consider subscribing to the channel. Until next time, peace!